Kia ora whānau, welcome. Well, here we are. We're at Monday, the 7th of July, 2025. We're over 6 months into the year, and where has it gone? Well, that's an interesting question. It's gone very fast. If you're like me and we look at grandchildren and you look how tall they've grown and how old they are, you're thinking, gee, time has really passed on. And but however, don't we all look the same? We never grow old. Is that the case? And we still feel the youth of life. This morning we're going to talk to you. Carl has got some business that he'll briefly touch on, and then I'll bring in one of our Johnsonville agents, Bronwood Shields, and we'll talk about what life is like as a solo agent and success. But first of all, I want to introduce a very special guest, Kerry Prendergast. And I have just read this book, if you can see it, Every Effing Inch, in which Kerry features in this. And I'm going to talk to you, Kerry, about this because I think it talks a lot about character, about your character. But first question up is why? Why did you walk over 3,000 kilometres from the top of the North Island, Cape Reinga, down to Bluff? It wasn't just the oysters and Bluff, Kerry. It must have been something about all of this that said, I'm going to do this every effing inch.
Well, good morning, everybody, and thank you for that opening question. Why did I do it? I started walking in 2012 when I climbed Kilimanjaro. And then the next year I walked 800 Ks across Spain, something called the Camino, the French way, to Santiago de Compostela. And then every second year since then, I've done a big walk, 500 Ks across the UK, 500 Ks from Florence to Rome. I've walked in Japan. 2 years ago, I walked from Glasgow to Fort William and climbed Ben Nevis. Last year across Massif Central in France, and this year I'm walking the Portuguese Camino. I don't normally have time. I'm a full-time company director. I don't have time to take more than like a 4-week gap off to travel internationally, but COVID struck and I had some international holidays cancelled. And a friend of mine who wrote the book, Tim Pankhurst, had said years before, do you ever want to walk the Te Aroa? And I said to him, yeah, because I say yes to everything, thinking I'll never have time to find a block to walk 3,000 Ks. But suddenly there were 2 blocks of a 4 and a 3-week block, so we thought we'd start. And we started in Cape Reinga, never realising how tough it was going to be, how long it would take, the trauma that we would all go through, and then the resilience needed to finish that 3,000 Ks. So we did it over 2 summers. Do you want me to keep talking for a minute? We did it over 2 summers. Yeah, okay. We did it over 2 summers. And because I had board meetings, I'd have to come back to Wellington. The book is called Every Effing Inch because we walked every effing inch. There's about 10% that is road, and a lot of people miss those sections out, but we got it in our heads we had to do the lot, and we did. My husband helped a bit with quite a bit. He was amazing trail angel, particularly in the South Island where there's many less people, less urban developments. So getting to walk down the spine along the eastern coast of the Alps, 35 nights in dock huts. When we did pop out every 4 or 5 days, there he'd be in the car with cold beers and pies to keep us going. But it was a walk of resilience, a head game.
I've got some headings here, and if you can elaborate on these headings. River crossings.
Okay, so I can't swim. I can scuba dive and I can dog paddle and stuff like that, breaststroke, but I am not a competent swimmer. And the first major problem I had was when the Wanganui River is part of the trail. You pop in at the top, and when you get out, we then walk from there south. So we walk to both ends. And the first, for those of you who have never met me, I like to lead, and so does my husband. So we got strict instructions on how to work the kayak, and the guide said, now, who wants to go first? And we said we'd go first, and we completely ignored all the advice. And we went round the corner where there was the first rapid. Both of us were doing the steering, and we were in the water within 5 minutes of starting. A few minutes later, well, about an hour later, we pulled into a bank because someone wanted to use the toilet, and the guy beside us, as he got out of his kayak, he held onto ours and tipped us in again. So we were drenched twice, and by the time we arrived at the first night camp, it was raining heavily. We were still terrified of falling in, and the guide called out from the bank, because there was a very big rapid coming up as the river was rising, lean right, and Rex and I leaned right and went in again. We now know he meant move your weight onto your right buttock, not lean over. My husband was washed down. They rushed down to get him, and I couldn't get out from underneath the kayak, and I was screaming, thinking I was about to drown, and realized I could hear my own voice. So I had to force myself to dive down and out and scramble ashore. That started a terror of rivers. And the South Island, we crossed multiple rivers, sometimes 20 times in a day. And there weren't many days I didn't fall in or pull my colleagues in with me. So I got to the stage where even crossing a river, a tribute that was maybe a yard and a half wide, I would have to stop and breathe and work out where I was going to put my boots to get across. I did pull the others in. It caused major problems, and I am still terrified of rivers. So that's why that picture on the front is me looking frightened. That's walking through Goat Pass. So those of you that have heard about the coast to coast, you run through Goat Pass. Well, the water was high. There was about 15 river crossings that day, and it was miserable. When water is as high as your thighs and it's really fast flowing, and the slippery rocks underneath you and you can't see them, you've got a big pack on your back, it's not a lot of fun.
Electric fences.
We hadn't set off. We were still, I think, in the section north of Auckland, where we had been given instructions on how to cross this estuary to get the tide right. The guy got the tide wrong, and we turned up at 5 a.m. It was pitch black, and he said, just look across and you'll see a Pohutukawa on the other side and head for that. Well, he gave us the wrong time and the wrong tide, and by the time we got across, which we were lucky doing because it was up to our necks and we were holding our packs above our head, one of our companions was only 5 foot, so she was really in trouble. So we were drenched again, and we headed off. Everyone was pretty cross, and we were in the wrong place, of course. We were walking through fields with mud, and there was, including with bulls, and Tim thought that this fence looked fine, just crawl under it, which I did, and I got a hell of a shock. That was the first of many. So you learn where, as you're crawling under things, where to be careful so you don't touch electric fences.
Just as well he didn't put one leg over.
Yes, well, he had shocks too. The two of us were good at that.
Yeah. Long drops.
So the North Island, walking the North Island, there's not so many dock huts. A couple around National Park and then in the Tauruas, which are really tough. But the South Island, because there's not so many communities, a lot of dock huts. They're disgusting. The huts are usually got rats in them. There's usually rat droppings, and a lot of the huts we had to collect the water from the rivers. There wasn't running water. You'd have to go out with a bucket and drag it in. And then there's the long drops, and you open the door. It's dark. It stinks. There's sandflies and mosquitoes, and they're not a lot of fun.
Yeah. The what you alluded to when you mentioned about starting this journey. It's a day, as I read through this book, it became a day-to-day thing of, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. Where it most probably come from your gut. How did you do that every day? I'm going to do this, I'm going to finish it.
So I think there was when we started, we were completely unrealistic. Okay, so I'd walked internationally. When you walk overseas, they're nice crushed limestone paths. People have walked there for centuries. New Zealand is not like that. And we set off with our packs, with all our dried food and everything. We thought this is just going to be a walk in the park, 90-mile beach. By the second and third night, where there was a southerly gale, we'd been sandblasted and hailed on, the wind was terrible, and we worked out that we could actually hire Airbnbs and cabins and get my husband to come back and hub and spoke us. That sort of made the North Island vaguely better, except for the Wanganui River and Mount Pirongia and the Tararuas. Once you get to the bottom of the South Island, we thought, wow, okay, you're halfway there. And then it became a head game. I just had to finish. I cannot do anything without finishing. And the South Island, we set off again. Those of you will have walked Queen Charlotte. You think, well, that's pretty good. That is nothing it doesn't prepare you for the Richmond Ranges and the multiple river crossings in the South Island. It's dangerous. Someone drowned in something called the Timaru River, which is south of Martha's Pass. This last summer, the season before, a man on his own drowned in the Richmond Ranges. I would never recommend anyone doing it on their own, but it became a head game. I'm an insomniac, so I didn't get a lot of sleep. We were in pain a lot, so we took a lot of painkillers, a lot of sleeping pills, and it just got to the stage we had to finish.
Yeah. You talk of angels, and this one particular angel, which is Rex, is he nearby? Is he in the background somewhere?
I could go and get him. He's in his office, but he, particularly in the South Island, he was just amazing to know. When you're walking with another couple who've been married 48 years, there's three of you, that creates some tensions, good stuff. I mean, we're still really good friends, but it was always a relief for me the morning I got up and repacked my pack to know that that day, in the middle of nowhere, we used something called a Garmin that we could text, and as long as it saw the satellite, Rex would get a text and he would know where to find us at what time, and we'd come round a corner in the middle of nowhere, and there he'd be with a big grin on his face to transport us to somewhere where we could have a hot shower and use the laundry and have proper food and a cold beer.
If I can actually talk about Rex just briefly, all of you may have come across Rex in your real estate career. Rex, in fact, I'm reminded back in the early 90s, I grew up in Hawkstone Street down in Thornton there, Kerry, and the Shamrock Hotel was right on the corner of Molesworth Street and Hawkstone. And Rex, this hotel was it was going to be pulled down, but he said, no, we'll move it. And he moved it from where it was on the corner of Hawkstone and Molesworth Streets, up Hawkstone, over the bridge to where it now sits in Tunakori Road. And of course, in those days, we didn't have the equipment and all that technology to move properties of this nature. But here was Rex. He chimed in and he said, not a problem. Police got involved, and because they had to make sure everything was all clear. And here was this thing being moved, and it was quite a feat. But he was also involved with Chris Parkin in moving the Museum Hotel. Is that correct, Kerry?
Yes, and Chris and Rex are still. I'll go and get him, will I? Do you want to have a look at him? Or
yeah, I'll
go and get him. You
keep the old bugger. So
he was 82 yesterday.
He was 82. So Rex, he's done all these things, and then Kerry and Rex were involved with taking over the refurbishment of the Embassy Theatre. So So they've been involved with a number of old buildings and properties in Wellington, and Rex was a city councillor. We'll talk. Rex, you handsome old bugger.
Sorry about this. I didn't realise
yeah.
you wanted me to hear.
No, well, we didn't really, but you remind me of my childhood, Rex. I grew up in Hawkstone
you.
Street in Thorndon, and you won't believe
Okay.
this. As a youngster, my dad passed away when I was about 7, 8 years of age.
Yep.
And at about the age of 10, Mum used to say, look, here's 10 shillings. Can you go down to the Shamrock and pick me up a bottle of sherry? And here I was as this 10-year-old going into the bottle store, and there was this little window with little bars over it. And I said,
Yeah.
a bottle of sherry, please. And they had, no, this is how things were in those days, wasn't it? But then,
Yeah.
but then, of course, the Shamrock was coming to an end, and it had to be moved. And I don't know if you're a stubborn old bugger or whatever it was,
Yes.
Very stubborn.
but you'd have to be either stupid or stubborn in those days to move a blessed hotel that was dilapidated, and there was no equipment like the trailers they have these days to move this blessed thing up Hawkstone Street and onto Tunakuri Road. But I watched a video, and honestly, there you were underneath this bloody thing, putting pieces of timber underneath, and then slowly moving it up to where it is now.
That's
Yeah.
the name of the
The-
video.
Yeah, that's right. Shifting the Shamrock, it's called on YouTube. But as well as the little window that you bought your mother's sherry, there was out the back, there was another window into the building next door, which was full of hookers. And so people could actually walk through and up a little doorway and into the knock shop next door.
I didn't know that. God, they hit that.
Well,
for
you were
me.
only 10, for God's sake.
Oh, well, that's a cheeky little Maori boy. I would have scooted up the stairs and had a good look, right? What a hard case. And of course, you're involved in that magnificent moving of the museum hotel. That was just
No, I wasn't involved in that.
But he's your friend.
Yeah, he's a good friend of mine, Chris Parkin is. And so Chris did that with Main Seal. And yeah, that's another amazing move. That's a much bigger move than ours, of course.
But however, you and Kerry have also you got involved with the Embassy Theatre and its refurbishment and how we see it today. But there's been numerous other projects that you and Kerry have been involved with in maintaining the heritage of Wellington.
Yeah. And I've used a few real estate agents in my day, I've got to say. and I've worked out how to find the good ones, the hard-working ones, and as in Kerry's walk, when the going gets tough, the tough get going, and you guys have got a pretty tough time at the moment, and so now's your time to get in there and work hard.
Hang in
there, find good clients and love them.
Rex, thanks. I just want to finish off with a couple of things. So if you can put that wonderful lady back on, please. Just stay in the background because there's something else. Kerry, I just want to touch briefly on midwifery, which was how you were, to politics. I know your dad, he was a Tawa councillor. Was it a family thing that brought you into local government and politics?
You're right. So looking around the ladies that I can see on my images, none of you look as old as me, but in my day, you either went nursing or teaching, and I started nursing in 1970, the age of 17. And apparently I now know, and I did nursing and intensive care, and then I became a midwife for a long time. Apparently I used to tell people in the fifth form that one day I was going to be in Parliament. I never got to Parliament. Dad got very involved in the Tawa Borough Council, and when I was stuck at home with 3 kids and working as an independent midwife, I decided to stand on a couple of issues for Tawa Borough Council after Dad had left, and then that led me on to Wellington City. At one stage, he was Deputy Mayor in Kapiti when I was Deputy Mayor in Wellington. He was very proud.
Yeah, and we're very proud of that as well. Rex and Kerry, Wellington, as we see things now and moving ahead, are we showing a good direction?
Listen, this city is an amazing city. We've had tough times before. You look around, we're lucky to live in Oriental Bay. It's magnificently situated. There's not many places in the world where you can be mountain biking in the morning and wandering around a clean waterfront during the day, and then going to multitudes of bars and cafes and arts events in the evening. This is a fabulous city. It will come back. It just needs some good, strong leadership at local government level, and a local government that understands how you work with a government as well.
Well, Kerry, Director of Oceania Healthcare, Fish Serve, which I think manages quota management.
Yeah.
Trustee of both the Wellington International Arts Foundation, New Zealand Community Trust, Chair of Wellington Free Ambulance, Wellington Opera, Royal New Zealand Ballet, Victoria Foundation, formerly Chair of Tourism New Zealand, New Zealand Film Commission, Environmental Protection Agency, New Zealand Festival. In 2009, you became a Dame. In 2016, you awarded Lifetime Excellence for outstanding contribution to local government. You hold an
Okay,
MBA.
this is enough. Let's move
No,
on.
I'm going. I'm not finished yet. You listen to me. MBA at Victoria University. Served on the boards of Concordian Stage. I remember that. With SAFE, Phoenix Football Club. I don't know how the hell you got into that because you're a netballer. And Ambassador for Health Alzheimer's New Zealand. And Rex, is she a good cook?
Is she? She's an excellent cook, and she does the ironing. Fantastic.
Dame Kerry Prendergast. In other words, I'm going to call you damn determined lady. Thank you so much for being our special guest. Thanks, Rex. Kia ora.
Thank you.
Have
a good day. Good luck.
Okay.
We will
Thank
survive.
you so much. Okay,
Bye.
brilliant stuff. Right. All right, Carl, it's over to you. You can click off now, Kerry, both of you. Thank you. It's up to you. Finish up.
Thanks, Pete. Just a quick fire stuff coming through. So the Real Estate of Origin, we just held the Lower North Island, Wellington City in participation, got number 1. Johnsonville came in at 4th, which is really good. Number of calls made, Johnsonville again, number 1. Kandala at number 3. For the number of appraisals, Johnsonville came in at number 3 there, which is good. 70 agents overall, 1,500 calls made, 217 appraisals booked overall for the Lower North, which is excellent. Just want to shout out to also the guys on the drill who are doing the Nurture Cloud coaching group. We've had a little competition been running over the last 4 weeks. The winners get announced today, so I won't disclose that. But over the last 4 weeks, we've knocked out 5,685 calls, over 2,000 texts, 116 appraisals, which has been brilliant. We've got 30 really active people in the group. The chat back and forth has been absolutely phenomenal, and there's been some absolute standouts on the chat rooms in support. Chris, Debbie, Bronwyn, there's lots of people there that have been phenomenal. That's been a great one. Since our last broadcast, which was actually last year, so I do apologise for the length that it takes to get these out. We've had some new agents join us. So Stephanie McGrewer, these people have already been around for a while, but Stephanie's in the city office. Jane Edmonds has joined us back in Kilburney. Chris Harris come over from the professionals into Hutt City. Malcolm Morris is now appointed the sales manager of the Hutt Valley for both Hutt City and Upper Hutt. At the Wairarapa, Michelle Moses has come back to us as well as Karina Rosemergy has joined us. And we've got 2 newbies into the Hutt City, Hayley Mai and Chanel Blair has joined us there as well. So welcome on board to everybody there. The top 20 for the month just came out a couple of days ago. And the usual cohorts are in the top 20. Shout out to Ben, Brad, and Renee, top 3. But one thing I wanted to say was, there's 3 other names on the list, which was Shane, Michelle, and Karina, 3 guys who have joined us recently. And it just a difference that recruitment makes to the overall production of all the officers, which is amazing. But there's some great names on that top 20. I'm sure you'll see that come out if you haven't already. But also, I just want to recognise the individual achievements since our last meeting. So I think in some sort of order, we had Renee Huia from Hutt City achieve elite status, Brad Chittick from the Wairarapa Master Office Premier, Jit and Jiggy reached elite status, Steve Platt Premier, Will Calder Premier, Ben Stevens Chairman Elite, Anna Manning Premier, Lance Williams Premier, Brad also moved up into elite after that. Debbie Bain Premier, Alex in Karori Premier, Robbie in the Wairarapa Premier, Will stepped up to elite, Jade Cartwright Premier, Aaron Burke Premier, Phil Galley Premier, Anne Marie in the Wairarapa Premier, and Shane and Chris, who joined us from Professionals, who have only been with us 6 months, Premier as well. So that's just an amazing achievement. Our awards night is coming up on the 11th of September. I still have 1 free ticket available for the awards dinner. If anyone wants to email me, first in, best dressed on that one. We've got 29 people going at this point. So just those award categories, Premier is 375 GCI, the Elite is 750, and the Chairman Elite 1.5 million. So those achievements just in the last 6 months. There's been a couple of others prior to that, but the last 6 months has been absolutely amazing. That's it for me. Thanks, Pete.
Well, outstanding in terms of just in 6 months to achieve those standings is certainly a wonderful achievement. So well done to everybody. But however, wherever we are on the scale, we do what we do. And as Kerry, as we learned from Kerry, it's a daily thing of getting up and mindset and just pushing ourselves into the position of achievement. And we met her and Rex. I met them beginning of the year, and up in Taupō, and what brilliant people! You can just see the 2 of them. They're just lovely people, and for her to have all these achievements, but not only that, willing to share with us the things that she's done, because you can see she's got a full itinerary of daily business that she's involved with. But such wonderful people. Right, we're just going to touch on Bronwyn Shields. All right, hello, my lovely, wonderful lady from Johnsonville. When you're sort of working on your own and you're having to self-achieve and self-promote and self-propel yourself into this business and make a success out of it. And it's been a wonderful journey. Well, it's been a slow, hard slog, hasn't it, Bronwyn? But you're really making some good strides. In the last 12 months, you've done incredibly well. What has it been, Bronwyn, to sort of put you step by step further up the ladder in terms of earnings and success?
Yeah, good morning, and thanks, Pete. Yeah, it sometimes does feel like a hard slog. Sorry, I'm fighting a cold, so a bit croaky. Yeah, it does a hard slog, and especially working on your own, hard to keep motivated constantly. And that's why I find, the team meetings, the things like the drill, motivating and kind of a good kick up the arse for me to do what I need to be doing. I think for me, what's made a difference is probably last year, I've made a real effort to keep regularly in touch with my database, and that's been a real push on that. So I think that's made a big difference, just making those calls regularly. Haven't always been doing it every day, and perhaps the volume I should, but certainly with the drill, being really focused on doing what I need to do. I don't do 100 calls in a sitting. I'm trying to just do, for me, I think it's really about slow and steady, and trying to keep that consistency. So each day doing what I need to do.
So I've written down a word here, effective. I suppose in meeting and people in our business, we tend to say, gee, I'm busy. I'm really busy. I'm really busy. And which is wonderful. It's that we fill our day with being busy. But would you say you've become more effective? So in other words, you've fine-tuned what you're doing to become more effective in what you're doing?
Yeah, it's been, I know everyone hates that word busy, but with having the number of listings I've had on the go at one time, I have been busy. And so I've probably not been as effective in doing everything I've needed to do around each listing, just because I've been doing basically the basics just to do what I need to get done. But certainly trying to be a lot more effective in what I'm doing, making better decisions, smart decisions. I signed up to that Eve, the Everyday AI. So I've got Eve working in the background, tidying up my database, which is a massive job. But don't regret doing that. I think that's been great to kind of, she adds all the properties to those new buyers that come to open homes. So she's working hard for me. And then I've got new contacts to be keeping in contact with. So yeah, trying to do things a bit more effective to make the most of my time.
Working on your own, is it you find it challenging? How have you coped with that?
Yeah, well, I guess it's all I've known. So you just kind of got to do it. I think this year's probably a bit harder that my partner's now retired, so I work from home. So I've had to be really motivated this year to just go, I'm shutting my office door. I'm not coming out for a while, and just stick to the tasks that I need to do. Very much trying to put things in my diary. So, you know, block out times of what I need to do and when, and that kind of keeps me focused and motivated, and kind of then can tick it off that I've done it. I'm very much a list and tick it off person. So for me, that works.
24/7, it can be our business. Do you reward yourself? Do you give yourself a bit of time out? So in other words, in your diary, do you block a little bit of time out and say, okay, I'm going to do this. This is just for me.
Not a lot, because it's been quite a busy year for me. For a lot of you that know me, I do target shooting. So for our club nights, Monday night. So that's my not negotiable. Monday nights I'm shooting. That's our club. I'm part of running that. And then at the moment, often we have competitions on the weekends. So generally I've tried to keep my Saturday free for either competing or just family time, really trying to focus on spending a bit more time with the grandkids. So ideally Saturdays and Monday nights are mine.
You and Renee, you should get together, her with her speedway, crikey dick, and you with the target shooting. But first, before you get together with her, I think you better get together with me, because I do duck shooting. And yeah, I tend to miss a few. But yeah, I don't know. It might be the onslaught of Parkinson's, where my gun's going up and down a little bit. But but otherwise, I'm pleased, thrilled that you do have this interest, and it allows you time away from what you're doing. I believe, yes, we can plow ourselves into this because it is consuming, but I'm thrilled that you do have this other interest, which takes your focus away. I enjoy what you say about focusing on certain things in your business and how you've concentrated on that, and which I believe, if all of us can be more effective, we're all busy, I know that, 24/7, but if we can be a bit more effective in what we do, then I think we'll be seeing ourselves going up the ladder a little bit. As we've seen people who are going from executive to premier to elite, and boy, if a lot of us hit chairman's elite, wow, boy, you deserve a pat on the back. Bronwyn, look, thank you for sharing just those few thoughts with us. I really appreciate that. To all of us here, that's about it. We'll wrap things up. Thank you for your time. We're halfway through the year, over into July. We've got, I suppose, most probably about 4 or 5 months to go, which is not that long, because we normally wrap things up around about November, don't we? Although some of us are working through December. But give yourself a bit of time out, be effective, enjoy what you're doing, because this is a wonderful career. If we take a leaf out of what Rex and Kerry have said, you know, yep, they enjoy what they're doing, but they have this exuberance about, when you just look at them in front of that camera there, they have this exuberance about life. And if we just have a part of that, then boy, aren't we onto a good thing. God bless you all. Arawa tēnā nui, kia ora katoa katoa, and we'll see you next time. Have a wonderful journey. Kia ora.